Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyabari Paschacha Dasatarine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Angolangayate Girim Kripa Tamaham Bande Siguru Dinatarinam Panchakapaturubhyascha Kripa Sindhumevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivashari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. So we're going to continue reading the prayers of the great acharyas so that we can learn how to pray. And as Prabhupada said, we should try to enter into the mood. So we're going to try to enter into the mood, their mood. That's the idea. So this is Manasa Deha Geha. You probably know this song. Manasa Deho Geho Yo Jo Kinchu Mor Arpilu Tua Pade Nandagishu. Manasa Deha Geho Yo Kinchu Mor Arpinam Tua Pade Nandakishore. Mind, body, and family, whatever may be mine, I have surrendered at your lotus feet, O youthful son of Nanda. So this is interesting because Bhaktivinoda Thakur is stating something that he's already doing. Like, I just want, Krishna, I just want you to know, I'm surrendering everything. I recognize everything is yours. And I'm telling you that, which if you tell Krishna that, it reinforces that you should do that. And this is interesting because when we say, Krishna, I've given you everything, it's not accurate because I don't have anything. So I'm saying I'm giving you everything I have, mind, body, family. I don't really have mind, body, family that's mine. I mean, I think it's mine, but it's not. So when we say I'm giving everything to Krishna, what we're really saying is I'm giving everything that I falsely claimed to be mine, identified as mine. So because I've identified it, I'm attached to it. And so by saying I'm going to give it to you means I'm giving up that attachment by recognizing it's yours. So I'm just not giving it to you, I'm giving it back to you. I've stolen it, I'm giving it back to you. That's the idea. So every time somebody thinks, I can enjoy this, whatever this is, that means at that moment, that person is seeing this as theirs or potentially theirs. So they're not seeing it as Krishna. It's yours, I give it to you. They're seeing it, it's mine, I own it, it's for my enjoyment, or I want to own it for my enjoyment. So one time, I don't remember the context, but one time there was a discussion with Prabhupada, and somebody was saying, but isn't this Maya? Like if we do this or we use this, sometimes that question comes up. But isn't this object Maya or isn't this activity Maya? And Prabhupada said, everything is Maya until you use it for Krishna. So what does it mean everything is Maya? It means that everything somebody sees in relation to identifying that object as theirs or potentially theirs, that's Maya. So now, as far as surrender is concerned, for a pure devotee, a pure devotee talks about surrender, but that's just their natural state of consciousness. Like when we talk about surrender, it's like I identify with this and I'm gonna be detached from it and give it to you, Krishna. But a pure devotee is never attached to it to detach from it. So it's not surrender. It is surrender, but it's a different mentality than we have because we're actually surrendering it because we're attached to it. Whereas pure devotee is surrendering it because he sees it as Krishna. So he's not detaching from it. He never was attached to it. Now, this song gets heavier, but most of us identify very strongly with the body and mind, right? So even though we say this body belongs to Krishna, this mind belongs to Krishna, in reality, in our day-to-day experience, we don't think like that, and we don't always act like that. It's it's sometimes it's said that it's not things we have that we should surrender, but it's the body and mind, that's the real surrender. The material things are, it's like they're easier to surrender, less painful in a sense. We're more attached to the body and the mind than we are to anything material, aren't we? So then, therefore, surrendering the body and mind is more difficult. And it's hard sometimes to think, oh, this body with all these desires, I have everything that I could do with this body and everything I could enjoy with this body it's not mine. It's false ego is, it's very strong. So it's difficult. And so we're all attached to being independent, right? So when Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, I surrender my mind, he's saying I surrender my independence. Like I don't have independent desire because that's what the mind's about, right? And the body is about sense gratification and the family is extension of sense gratification. So another way you could say this is I surrender my independence and all my sense gratification and all my extension of sense gratification. I surrender that all to you. That's basically what he's saying. So if you want to do that, you can tell Krishna that's what you want to do. Well, he's not saying I want to do it. He's saying I am doing it. And Krishna, I just want you to know this is what I'm all about. And if we don't want to do that, it's going to be hard to be a devotee. At least, um, at least sometimes we can't do it or can't do it well or can't do it enough. But at least we should have the desire to do it. So that's important because sometimes you can't do something. And sometimes as a devotee, you can't understand why I should desire something that I can't do. It's like I'm afraid to do this. It's too much. I'm not that detached. So the idea of praying to be able to do it can be scary. But it's not supposed to be like that. It's not supposed to be scary. It's supposed to be like, okay, maybe at the level I'm at, I can't achieve the level of renunciation, the level of surrender that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is describing. Not maybe, I can't. But to have that desire too, someday, that's important. So you don't want to throw out the whole desire because right now it's like, this is beyond my level of advancement and it frightens me. If I think I'm going to give my whole body to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, like what's left for me? Like no sense gratification at all, zero. I can't do that. So, but at least we should be attracted to the idea. That's important. Even if I can't do it now, even if it's scary now, somehow we need to become attracted to all these principles of Krishna consciousness. Because if we're not, how are we going to get there? Because you're never going to go for something that you're not attracted to, at least in an ultimate sense, right? Okay, I'm not there yet, but I would like to be. Otherwise, I'm not there yet and I'm afraid to be, and I don't know if I want to be, then you're communicating that to Krishna. And Krishna says, okay, I guess we're not going there. I fulfill your desire. So that's so I think it's important, even if we can't achieve something, to want it. I was telling a devotee who wasn't able to chant, circumstantially couldn't chant 16 rounds every day. And she was saying, I want to. And I feel bad that I'm not doing it. But it was a physical problem. And I said, I can see that you want to, and in your physical condition, it's almost as if your desire to want to do it is synonymous with doing it because you're not physically able to do it. But in your heart, you're doing it or you want to do it. So I think that's very important. To keep in your heart your goal, what it is you want, even if you're not there yet. And in a sense, you are there because that's what you're asking for. And that's your desire. So it's like you're doing it, even though you're not, in a sense. Because, Krishna's always taking the essence of the mood. So I can't do it, but I want to do it. So you couldn't even imagine doing it. If you even imagine doing it, that's accepted as devotional service. Okay. Yeah. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says mind, body, family. That means there's no identification of I, me, and mine. It's not my body, it's not my mind, it's not my family. So if it's not mine, I guess it's Krishna's. And if it's not mine, I guess I'm surrendering it to Krishna, right? Isn't it? Yes? It's not mine. If it's not mine, whose is it? Must be Krishna's. I surrender to Krishna. So walk around your house, look around your house, and tell Krishna, it's all yours. Well, can you do that? Is that like challenging to do? Look in the mirror and say, Krishna, this body is yours. What do you want me to do with it? Krishna, this mind is yours. What do you want me to do with it? Yeah. You should try that. See if it's hard for you. See if there's any resistance or whatever. Okay, let's go to the next one. Sampade vipade jivane marane daya mama gela tua o pare bharane. In good fortune or in bad, in life or at death, all my difficulties have disappeared by choosing those feet of yours as my only shelter. So that's interesting. Does it actually mean the difficulties materially have gone? Not always. But it means when the devotee takes shelter at Krishna's feet, the difficulties are gone. Because there's so many difficulties we face are not actually, they don't actually exist. They exist in our mind. So many problems that you have are problems that really don't exist outside of your mind. Isn't it? Have you seen that? Notice that? Oh, I have a problem. It's a big problem. And I'm thinking, I don't even think it's a problem. I think it's a problem because you think it's a problem. Or you're allowing it to be a problem and it's not. So, so we can say that Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, even if it's a problem, when I'm at your feet, it's not a problem. Because I'm protected, or I am under the influence of your internal potency. Yeah, I mean, that's what he's saying, because he's saying in life or in death, death is a difficulty, don't you think? Yeah, like for a conditioned soul, death is not easy. Well, sometimes it's easy if you don't know you're dying, then it's easy. But if you know you're dying and everything's going to be lost, it's not easy. So he's saying, okay, there's no difficulty in dying. What does that mean? There is difficulty in dying. No, when I take shelter at your feet, there is no difficulty. So that confirms what I'm saying. The difficulties are not difficult because I don't perceive them as difficult, even if they are. Like sometimes devotees say to me, how are you doing? How everything is going? And I say, it's going well, even if it's not going well. Because if you're in Krishna consciousness, it's always going well. If you're in Krishna consciousness, even if it's not externally going well. Yeah. So, yeah. So here comes an important point that as conditioned souls, when we're in difficulty, sometimes we have a tendency to take shelter of everything but Krishna. Sometimes devotees have told me when they're in difficulty, they like lose faith and they stop chanting. And I would have expected to get a letter that said the opposite. I'm in difficulty, I chanted more. I'm in difficulty, I stopped chanting. And well, what did you do? I just slept or something like that. Or I did something other than take shelter of Krishna. So what am I doing? I'm trying to find shelter in something material. There is no shelter in something material. Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying, well, the difficulties go because they take shelter at your feet. Okay. Why would we look for shelter anywhere else? Because it is called durashaya. Material world is a bad shelter. Why would we do that? But if you look at your life, you'll see sometimes in difficulty, we seek shelter in something other than Krishna. Have you ever done that? Like we said, Netflix and chocolate. We were talking about this before. Remember that class? Netflix and chocolate. Like I'll take shelter in Netflix and chocolate. Hare Krishna. I don't think so. I don't think that's a solution. Yeah. What what that kind of shelter does is it causes you to numb the problem or forget the problem. It's like alcohol. It's just another form of intoxication. But it never solves the problem. So that's why when people write me and they say, I can't chant or I can't take shelter of Krishna, they'll write back the next day and they go, this problem is like impossible for me to deal with. Well, yeah, because you've not taken shelter of Krishna, where all difficulties would go if you did. So really, like the coward boys when they walked into Aghasura's mouth, they were thinking, what's the problem? Krishna will protect us. So that's the way a devotee thinks. Not that we're haphazard and do stupid things, but there's ultimate confidence that the solution is at Krishna's feet. That is the solution. Ultimately, it's the only solution, at least the only permanent solution. So we need to condition ourselves that when there's difficulty, our default move is chant more, read more, more Sangha, all of these things more. That's how we will deal with it in the best way. Because Sangha and hearing and chanting, that's how we become Krishna conscious. And so all the more we need it when things are difficult. And I honestly, I have to admit, I'm shocked when devotees tell me that they're facing difficulties and they're taking shelter, they're turning their back on Krishna. I think they mean they're losing faith in Krishna, that these difficulties are there and they're devotees and they have trouble understanding why as devotees these difficulties would be there. But, we're in a world where there are difficulties, so it shouldn't be that difficult. Yeah, but I'm a devotee. Yeah, but still, we're in the world where there are difficulties. The laws of nature work for everybody. We have a material body, and, our philosophy says that there are miseries in this world from our own body, from other living entities, from nature. And it never said that those difficulties were only affecting non-devotees. Obviously not. When it's hot for everybody. So let's say the weather's really hot and the devotee said, I can't understand why it's hot in the temple because we're Krishna's devotees and he should make it cool for us. Like if someone said that, you'd think, oh, this is the Bhakta Burfi moment. This person does not understand the philosophy. But we say that so often. Why did Krishna allow this to happen? And the answer is because these things happen in the material world. And it's not that it happens a lot to devotees, but sometimes it does. You know, devotees suffer in Russia, they suffer in Ukraine with what's going on, in Israel. Like we're in a world where there's suffering. It's difficult to avoid. When you have an election, you never know what's going to happen when a new president or prime minister comes into office. It can create havoc. In some countries, when new political leaders came in, they would socialize, the economy would crash, people would become unemployed. It's like, and that affects everyone, devotees not. Of course, Krishna ultimately takes care of us. We know that. But being within the material world, there are these difficulties that just come with the turf, whether you're a devotee or not. But ultimately, like if we look at the teachings of the Gita, and if we say the teachings of the Gita, teachings of Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, these are the real gifts that Krishna is giving us. If that's true, then it means that when there are difficulties in the world, the real gift is his teachings, which keep us stabilized and peaceful and above duality. So if we don't take shelter of those teachings, then how would we be utilizing the gifts? And then it's very awkward when a devotee breaks down because of a problem. Of course, we're all human, so it's natural. But sometimes a devotee breaks down when really all they needed to do was take shelter in some story in Bhagavatam, some verse or something that would have pulled them through, and they don't. And the thought is, well, I was praying to Krishna to change the situation. But what about all the instructions that Krishna gave you to help you deal with the situation that doesn't change or that can't change? It's not going to change. And you didn't do that, and you're expecting Krishna to change it, where he's giving you the instructions, the insight, and how to deal with it. So that's something to consider. Not trying to be insensitive, but I'm just trying to point out that Krishna's gift. Krishna doesn't say, well, when you become a devotee, then you stop aging. I became a devotee in 19, 54 years later, I'm still 19. No, I'm not. You could notice it looks like I'm not 19, right? Can you notice? Yeah, I look older than 19, yeah. So should I get mad at Krishna? Krishna, I'm getting old. That's not fun. Obviously, that would be foolish. Nobody would think that way. But it's similar. And so, okay, I'm getting older, and sometimes it's more blissful when we're older, even though the body's not more blissful, because we know how to relish Krishna consciousness more. So even though we're getting older and things are more difficult, in a sense, we could be happier, being more at the feet of Krishna. I mean, you could imagine if you were leaving your body and all you could do was hear and chant like in your last days or weeks or months, and you had devotees doing kirtan and devotees reading Shastra. And so you're just absorbed in Krishna Katha day in, day out. You would be pretty blissful, don't you think? Even though your body may not be. I mean, obviously, if your body's in severe pain, it would be difficult, but let's just assume your body's just naturally breaking down. You're not in severe pain. Even though you'd be incapacitated if you were hearing and chanting, it could be the most happiest time of your life, right? It's possible, isn't it? Like externally, the most miserable, but in a Krishna conscious perspective, the most blissful because now you're hearing and chanting with every waking hour of the day, every waking moment. So I think that's, it's like Parikshit Maharaj's, he's he's getting ready to die, but he's like totally absorbed in hearing the Bhagavatam. He's ecstatic, right? How many people are ecstatic when they're getting ready to die? Well, if you're hearing Bhagavatam, you'll be ecstatic. So that I think that's a good example, don't you? Of how an external difficult situation can be extremely blissful because it can cause you to be able to hear and chant about Krishna. And so in spite of the fact you're only going to live for 7 days, it wouldn't really matter because you're now in the spiritual world. So what do you care? Right? Okay. We have some comments here. I agree, we don't have problems. All we have is service. We work through everyday problems. I think we have problems. Sangeeta says, I initially took the shelter by reading and hearing and association, but when condition persisted and became severe, I was distracted and couldn't continue. Yeah, material condition. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Yeah, so sometimes that does happen. The physical condition makes it impossible. But in any case, our ultimate shelter is Krishna. In some way, we have to think of him. As one amazing senior devotee told me when I asked her how she was, I'm amazing, but my body a disaster, falling apart. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, because Krishna says in the Gita that the soul is amazing. So if anyone asks you, how are you? You say, well, sometimes they ask me, how are you doing? I go, Satchidananda, just like you. I'm full of chit, just like you. I'm a piece of chit, just like you. How you doing? I'm eternal, full of knowledge and bliss, just like you and everybody else. Um, but this one is even better. How you doing? I'm amazing. Yeah. I am amazing as a soul, body's disaster. You've got a lot to look forward to, devotees, getting old. Okay, next verse. This verse is so heavy. Marobira kobi jo icho toha. Nichadasa pratituya adhikara. Slay me or protect me as you wish, for you are the master of your eternal servant. So this verse is the song, this shloka, whatever you want to call it, is so important for our understanding. If I asked you, if we hadn't read this verse, if we hadn't even read this song, and I said, would you go to the deity and tell the deity, if you like, you can let me live, and if you like, you can kill me? Very few devotees would volunteer for that. And I said, not only would you like, but would you like to do it right now? Like, would you do it right now? Most devotees wouldn't do it because I've asked this question and I've done my research and I don't remember. I remember maybe one or two raised their hand. My joke is, well, they didn't understand the question. That's why they raised their hand. But I wouldn't say that every devotee wouldn't. But generally, most devotees would be afraid to tell Krishna, you can kill me if you want, because they would think, well, that gives Krishna the right to do it. And so probably it's going to happen. And I'm not, unless I'm suicidal or very Krishna conscious, I wouldn't want that. Right? Oh, my phone is making noise and I'm trying to find it and I don't see it. At least I know now it's here. Somebody, that ever happened to you? Somebody call my phone with the ringers off. The devotees were cleaning my office and I think they moved my phone. Or I don't know. Maybe it's right in front of me and I can't see it. Hare Krishna. I'm having a vata moment right now. Maybe it's the computer. I don't want to waste your time, but Krishna, why are you playing tricks with me? Where's my phone? It's going to drive me endlessly crazy here. Okay. I have no idea. Do you hear it? Can you hear it? No. Wait a second. I have to look. Don't go anywhere. No idea. Okay. All right. Um, my sound is off, yeah. I get a no, oh no. I put WhatsApp on my computer. So it's the WhatsApp is doing it. And it's coming out of the speakers. Yeah, I must have left my phone in the house. Yeah, okay. My insanity is over. I put like WhatsApp a couple of days ago. So it's going bing bing. And it's coming and my speakers are over here. And I'm like, that's my phone. Okay. I'm still sane. I figured it out. Okay. So why would a devotee say, Krishna, you can kill me? Or Krishna, you can save me? Why would he say that? Ashishtava paradatam panastamam. Isn't that what Radharani is saying? Right. So why does a devotee say that? Is it because a devotee wants to see Krishna happy? So basically he's saying, Krishna, if it makes you happy to kill me, let's do it. What time do you want to do it? I'm ready. If that'll make you happy, okay. Wow. That's what you signed up for when you became a devotee. Did anyone tell you? You signed up for suicide, if that's what Krishna wants. Of course, we know Krishna's, doesn't like delight in having devotees give up their lives, and he protects his devotee, like he protected Thakur Haridas. He protected Prahlad, like that. Ambarish Maharaj, and so forth. Um, but for a devotee, Krishna's pleasure is the main thing. So he's like, okay, that's what you want. If you want us to die, then it's my seva, no problem. I just want you to be happy. Wow. So, yes, I have a question. Can you say something about how I can more be dependent on Krishna's desire if I do not know him yet? Well, you can learn all about him in Bhagavad Gita. You can know a lot about him from Bhagavad Gita. He's the supreme controller, and everything that you can't do, he can do. And everything you need, he can give you. Now, it's like we were talking about before, giving Krishna everything to Krishna, but you can't really give it because he already has it. He lets us think we have something and he lets us give it to him, but it's actually his. So how can I be dependent on Krishna? Well, you already are. Because if the sun, if he decided, well, today no sunrise. Today the sun's just not going to rise. And today the oxygen ratio in the air is going to be unfit for human life. And today the galaxies are going to burn out everything on the Earth planet, et cetera, et cetera. Then obviously we couldn't exist. So you don't know him, but you know that he's giving you everything to live. So you already are dependent on him. So I think it's more of a recognition of the dependence that's already there. Mm. What about your intelligence? You're dependent on Krishna to give you intelligence. What about your energy, your strength? You're dependent on Krishna to give you strength and energy, right? You're dependent on Krishna to be able to walk, to intelligently function, to be able to talk, form words, sentences, ideas. Just go down the list. You already are dependent on Krishna. So it's not how can you be, you already are. It's just recognizing it. And what about all those things that you can't control, that you need to control? Then who's going to control them? Well, then you put your hands up and say, Krishna, I can't do this. Only you can. Please help. So just the fact that there's so many things we can't control, then how are we going to function unless Krishna helps? So I think it's simpler than you think. Question continued. What is a devotee who can see that situations are good even if it's not good, but in the middle of the same problem that gives stress going on? What intro? I'm not sure what that means. Let me read it again. Well, there's a devotee who can see a situation is good even if it is not good. But in the middle of the same problem gives him stress. What internalization has the devotee that he or she feels okay? Well, my stock answer is ask this question when you go back to Godhead. Krishna, why did you put me in that situation? He'll say, because if I didn't, you wouldn't be here right now. So think about that answer. You know, as self-development gurus teach, which is very valuable, they say, this is not happening to me, it's happening for me. So like, so how can I benefit from it? How can I become stronger by going through this situation, or what can I learn from it? So how can I see this as happening for me? And maybe it's a karmic thing you have to go through. Maybe it's the desire of Krishna that you go through something. Maybe, and which it often is, maybe it's a self-created problem. Like maybe it's just something you did that's creating the problem. It really has nothing to do with Krishna. So that's also important. We've talked about that a lot. And I think often devotees, they don't they don't think like that. Oh, Krishna, why are you doing this to me? Well, last night you had 3 gallons of ice cream and 26 pizzas. So I think you did it to yourself, not why are you blaming me? Right? You know, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? You know. So I think that's an important consideration. We often don't make that consideration. We mess up and then we go, I'm losing my faith in God. Everything's miserable. Yeah, well, you know. Then don't eat 3 gallons of ice cream and 26 pizzas. You know? But what does that have to do with your faith in God? But I'm a devotee. Why did he allow me to get sick? Because Anybody would get sick if they ate that. That's why. So, hmm. I am firmly convinced beyond any shadow of a doubt that the only way anyone in the material world through the numerous lifetimes that they pass could become a devotee is is because things are not perfect here. Because if they were, why would you need to go anywhere else? So sometimes what I think is when things are difficult, I think, oh, I am so dull-headed. Krishna knows that. He really has to shake me up to make some sense in my head that, I'm not actually God, I'm not the enjoyer. And Krishna wants to show me that. Krishna said, I will show you. Boom. It's like you go up to some guy, you pick a fight, and the guy's like, are you kidding me? And he punches you and knocks you out. So he shows you who's tough. So sometimes you think everything's fine, and Krishna goes, really? Boom. And then you realize, yeah, I needed that. Or I needed to learn tolerance, or I needed to become stronger, or I needed to become kinder, or I needed something. So just ask yourself, what did I need that this lesson is teaching me? And maybe the bottom line is you needed tolerance. Oh, you just needed a reminder. It's like it's different when you read the news and you see what's going on and you see all these horrible things and you feel bad. It's much different than when it happens to you. Because if you read about all the bad things that go on, you might say, wow, this world, there's so many bad things going on. And you feel bad for the people who are suffering and so forth. But it's different when you're suffering. You have different realization, right? So if your life is great and other people are suffering, it's not necessarily a lot of impetus to be Krishna conscious. But when it comes to your door, it's like, yeah, it's a reminder. Have you ever had an experience like that where it came to your door and you realized, oh, I forgot this. I forgot I'm in the material world, and I could see that Krishna was reminding me that when you deviate a little bit, this is what happens. That ever happened to you? It's like, reminder, I forgot, wake up call. And then you realize, yeah, I needed to remember that, or I was kind of going the wrong way, and Krishna just slapped me and said, don't go that way. Get back on the road. So you can see it like that. Should we see the difficulties as Krishna personally sending it to inspire me to go back to Godhead and serve? Yeah. When you're more advanced, you won't need those difficulties because you'll already be inspired to serve. So, my little thing is if you don't like to suffer, then just be fully Krishna conscious, then Krishna won't have to do anything to like nudge you on because you're already nudging yourself on. So if you don't want him to nudge you, nudge yourself. If you want to avoid suffering, nudge yourself, then he won't have to. So that's my peace formula. Be Krishna, you don't want to suffer, then be Krishna conscious and show Krishna that you are inspired, and he doesn't have to like slap you in the face because you're good on your own. You're good to go on your own. No face slapping is necessary. That's my philosophy. Because if you don't do that, he has to come and slap you in the face. And if you don't want to get slapped in the face, just like your parents want you to do something, you're resisting. So if you don't resist, it's like no problem. You just go, they want you to go somewhere, you go with them. But if you resist, they might slap you, pull you, scream at you, like, you're coming no matter what. Get in the car, throw you in the car. So, it'd just be easier just to go along with it. Wouldn't it? Yeah. Okay. So, you can kill me or you can save me because I'm your servant, you're my master. So, wow, total slave mentality, isn't it? Don't tell this to the New York Times. They'll say, oh, the devotees are slaves. They think God is a slave master because they're telling God, you can kill me and I'm just your servant. So, like, whatever you want to do. But for a devotee, that's his ecstasy. That he just wants to serve Krishna. That's his happiness. Ah, Gauraga. You have one very tired and hungry speaker who's jet lagged and doesn't know. Well, he knows it's 10 in the evening for him in Malaysia. He knows that. Anyway, we'll make it through. Don't worry. Okay. Um, Abhinav says, how to see prayers of Queen Kunti at this stage of bhakti? Because every time I read them, I feel like I already have many problems to deal with. I don't need new ones. Yeah. Well, it's a little, I mean, her situation was a little different because in those prayers, she was saying, you know, we had so many difficulties, and every time we had difficulties, you showed up personally. So if for every problem you had, Abhinav, Krishna appeared to you personally, you'd probably be praying for problems, right? Um, but you probably should be praying to Krishna to help you be strong and solve your problems. And know that, as I said before, a lot of your problems may be self-created, not sent by Krishna. And know that if they are sent by Krishna, it's giving you what you feel you deserve. Yes, not everyone is bold enough to pray to Krishna to give me problems. But Prabhupada offered one prayer for us. He said, Krishna, do whatever you have to do to get me out of here. Like that's the prayer. And so, so what's your option? I don't want to go through whatever I have to go through to get out of here. So your option is stay here. It's like you have a tooth. I don't want to get it pulled. So your option is be in pain the rest of your life. So Krishna, do whatever you have to do to get me out of here. Then you trust that Krishna's not going to make it impossible or cause you to suffer. He's just going to do what's necessary and you'll be happy. That faith has to be there. So if you don't want to pray for problems, you can pray like that. Just help me. Do what is necessary to get me out of here. And have faith that Krishna's not, he's not unkind. Krishna's your father. So like you would ask your father, do whatever you have to do to help me get good grades. So he disciplines you. So you study and whatever, get up early and like that. So it's loving. So Krishna, you can feel Krishna's love. And sometimes when there's difficulty, if you can see that those difficulties were necessary. But really the mood should be if Krishna wants me to, if this is what I have to go through and he's allowing it, then I go through it. It's not like, I've committed so many sinful activities. Like, what do I just, like, I don't deserve to suffer. It's not really true. We do deserve to suffer. And Prabhupada said, as devotees, we suffer less. But a devotee doesn't think, I don't deserve it. And so when we lose faith in Krishna, then we're thinking, I don't deserve it. The devotee is supposed to think, I deserve worse. And Krishna has removed that suffering. And sometimes suffering is so bad, it's difficult to understand how it could even get any worse. Like Krishna's making this less, it's already too much. But that's how we're taught to think. And Krishna appreciates your faith in him, and he reciprocates with it. So I think that's important also. And a lot of these situations, it's nice to see them as tests of faith. Because Krishna maybe he's putting you in a situation and he just wants to see, well, do you have faith in me? Or he wants to help you strengthen your faith. But instead of strengthening it, you like run away from the situation. And so you could have strengthened your faith and it weakened. So you let Krishna down. You're showing Krishna what you're made of. So in difficult times, you can show Krishna what you're made of, either made of, what are you made of, like butter or made of steel. So the difficulties can be opportunities, to show Krishna, well, like no matter what, I'm not giving up your service. No matter what, I'm going to continue. So that's nice. So if Krishna puts you in some difficulty, or if there, whether he puts you in or there is, and you're steady, then you get to show Krishna that you're not going to give up no matter what. And you get mercy for doing that, and you get realization, you get strength. And those are gifts which you can employ in further service. Right? So, okay. It's not that late. No. I was saying it's 10:30 my time. I'm in Alachua. It's just 10:30 in Malaysia, 10:30 in the evening in Malaysia. So if I'm on the Malay, yeah. So I went to bed last night at 11 and I woke up at 1, which was just a nap Malaysian time. So I'm like really off. And I woke up hungry. So kind of was like, yeah, yeah. Anyway, it's the austerity of traveling. Yeah. Okay. Um, so this verse it really is very heavy. And for many devotees, it's very scary. And um, but I think if we look at the pastime of Putana, she tried to kill Krishna, Krishna killed her, but it was like a blessing for her. And would you rather die of cancer, or would you rather die when Krishna kills you? Or you're killed in the service of Krishna, or you're killed by cancer? Obviously, to be surrendered to Krishna and die in his service is glorious. And so devotee feels like, well, I have to die anyway. If I could die in service, it would be glorious, like a warrior. But ultimately, as we said before, it's the devotee's mood is really like, well, Krishna, what do you want? Because whatever you want, I go along with it. That's what it means to be surrendered. So, like I was saying earlier, it's not that every devotee is going to be able to imbibe this. For many devotees, this is really going to scare them. Or at least we can say for many devotees, I'm not really ready to pray to Krishna. You can kill me if you like. But at least I would like to be ready. I know this is what it means to be Krishna conscious, is really what I signed up for, although I didn't realize what I signed up for. Now I'm realizing today what I signed up for. Oh my God, if I would have known this, I probably would have ran away. But it's too late now. I'm already a devotee. I'm already initiated, so you can't run away. And what I would suggest, and I've talked about this a lot, whatever concept you have in Krishna consciousness that you find difficult to 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 process, like I'm a slave, like, oh, that's so difficult, or surrender. Surrender has negative connotations, slave has negative connotations, right? We have to try to reframe those connotations into to the positives that they are in relation to Krishna. So for a devotee, to be Krishna's slave is fantastic, because then you get to be with him all the time. And then you get to do whatever he wants. And because you love him, that's all you want to do anyway. And you're happy, and he's not going to exploit you, right? So divine slavery is ecstasy. So we have to, recontextualize these things. Surrender. Surrender is sweet. Surrenders. We have a t-shirt. So we're making a t-shirt, or maybe it's already made online. Surrender is beautiful, something like that. So we create a different context from the material context for these items that reflect the spiritual context. So yeah, do you think surrendering to Krishna is actually going to make you unhappy? Really? I mean, really? Do you think like that? Of course, the conditioned mind might, but you think, and surrendering to something else in this world is going to make me happy, but surrendering to Krishna won't. In your sober moments, you will not think that way. So then the word surrender has a positive ring. Giving my life to Krishna, that's beautiful. That's what I want to do. So in that way, we can be positive about being killed by Krishna, or not by Krishna, but by being killed if that's what he wants. He doesn't want it. It's not like, well, when you become a devotee, within a few years, you'll be killed because everyone who becomes a devotee, Krishna kills because he just wants to see if you're surrendered. It's not like that. It's Bhaktivinoda is saying to Krishna, this is who I am to you. This is who I am for you. I am someone who, if you want, you can do whatever you want with me. If you want me to die in your service, that's who I am. So he's stating it, and he means it, obviously. So at least we can state it and say, Krishna, that's who I'd like to be. I'm not there, but I'd like to be that for you. Krishna, I would like to be at that point where you can do whatever you want with me. Whatever's good for me, just do it. I would like to ask you, but I'm not there yet. But I'm praying to be there. So, at least you're on the way, right? You don't want to just like give it up. Like, no, that's it. Right? Okay. Slave to love. You're going to be a slave to love, whether it's some girl or boy or Krishna. So take your choice. That's a good point. My dear devotees, you have options for your slavery. You can be a slave to love of Krishna or a slave to love of some pretty girl or pretty guy, handsome guy with big muscles and tattoos and nice earrings. Or you can be a slave to Krishna, who is infinitely more beautiful than that guy. Because whatever beauty he has, he borrowed it from Krishna, and it's only a fraction. So, you have good options in Krishna, definitely. And we just have to be convinced of that. Okay, we have another verse. Janma bhimo icho charito bhakti grihe jani janma how more. If it is your will that I be born again, then may it be in the home of your devotee. So here, here we're seeing, I was giving class last week, and I was telling the devotees how much, maybe you heard the class, how much Prabhupada was encouraging us to go back, home back to Godhead as our duty. Because he was afraid if we didn't go back to Godhead and we took birth again, maybe in that birth we would become entangled in material life. So better, just get us out of here, and then there's no problem. So, but I also mentioned in that class that is not the way a pure devotee thinks, because a pure devotee thinks it's not about heaven or hell or the spiritual world or what everything, getting a spiritual body. It's about what Krishna wants. That's, if I have a really wonderful life, but it's not what Krishna wants, I won't be happy. And if I have a not wonderful life, but it's what Krishna wants, I'll be happy. So that's the idea of this verse. Lots of devotees, when we look at this world, we're thinking, I don't want to come back. It's bad enough now. I can't imagine if I live another 25 years and then another 20 years before, 25 before, I'm out in the world working. It's like, I can't imagine 50 years from now how bad it's going to be. Krishna, I don't want to come back. And I told that story a while ago when a devotee asked Prabhupada's servant, where's Prabhupada going in his next life? And the servant said, I don't know. Let's ask him. And Prabhupada said, I want to preach on the hellish planets. So there you go. That's that's the desire of the pure devotee. What Krishna wants is what I want. And if he wants me to go there, let's go. Hare Krishna. So then Prabhupada said, there are some devotees, listen to this. This is really interesting. There are some devotees who only take birth in this world for preaching and Leela's sake. They never go back. Wow. Hare Krishna. That's heavy. Huh? But they're always with Krishna and Leela, so what does it matter? But if that's Krishna's desire, then that's what they do, and they're happy. I mean, would you mind taking birth in Krishna Leela eternally on this planet? I don't think so. That'd be okay, right? Better than taking birth in Croatia or Russia or where else do we have? India or Amsterdam or Suriname or Sri Lanka or Colombia or Eastern Europe, Chile. Yeah. So, yeah. Mm. Now he makes another point. I don't, it doesn't matter if I'm born, but I need Sangha. Without Sangha, life is miserable. And without Sangha, I won't be able to worship you and serve you properly if I don't get Sangha. So that's the only condition. I get Sangha devotees. There's no greater misery than being without Sangha. I think I wrote a devotee a little note. I was having trouble with Sangha. And then Satyarupa, she sends it. And she said, can we post it? And what I said was, maybe it's already been posted, but what I said is there's a saying, I don't know if you have this saying in your country, but I've heard this in America. It's a saying amongst men when they're talking about women. I can't live with them and I can't live without them. If I don't have one, I want one. And when I have one, she drives me crazy. Can't live with her, can't live without her. So sometimes in ISKCON, it's like that, you know. The devotees are driving me crazy. I can't live with them, but I can't live without them. Because if I don't have Sangha, if I don't have Vaishnav Sangha, then I will become like the Sangha that I have, whatever that Sangha is. So I need devotee Sangha. I have to have it. If I don't have it, then not good, right? ISKCON devotees, can't live with them, can't live without them, something like that. So obviously we have to learn how to live with them, right? So Bhaktivinoda, you might say a prayer. Oh, if I have to come back, let it be in the home of a devotee. It's not, as long as it's not in ISKCON. No, yeah, you can't say that. I'm only joking. There are a lot of nice devotees in ISKCON, of course. Every organization has its problems. Anyway, this is he's exemplifying for us the mood of the devotee. If I have to take birth, whatever, it's okay. As long as I get sadhu sangha and satsanga, the association of sadhus and devotees, then I'm good. Okay. Next. Is there more than 4 for that song? Or is there 8? Oh, yeah. This is all about surrender. So beautiful. Kita janmai hoy jata tu das bahirmukha brahma janme nahi. A bit low for me. May I be born again even as a worm, so long as I may remain your devotee. I have no desire to be born as a Brahma. That verse to you. 8 verses. Okay. So, yeah. So what is he saying here? He's saying again, not again. He's saying, if I could be born as a human or a demigod, but not your devotee, I wouldn't take it. Like question to all of you. If you could be born as Brahma, would you take it? Now you might say, well, if he's a devotee, but the connotation here is that Brahma is not always a devotee. So would you be born as like with all this material opulence, but not as a devotee? And hopefully your answer would be no, I wouldn't. It should be. If you're chanting your rounds properly, then you would say no. What about born as a movie star in Hollywood, living in a big mansion, making like 20 million or 50 million or whatever? How about a athlete, who makes like oodles of millions, every year? Handsome, get any girl he wants. Would you take that and be a non-devotee? No, absolutely not. Then this is a bit of hyperbole exaggeration, but he's making a point. I would take birth as an insect, as I say, a worm. Yeah. If I could get sadhu sangha, then I'd rather be a worm than Brahma without sadhu sangha. So he's emphasizing, you know, sadhu sangha is so important. And learning how to associate properly with devotees is therefore absolutely essential because we need sangha. It's sangha so important that he's saying, I'll be a worm with sangha rather than Brahma without it. That's a powerful statement. And yeah, yeah. So as I said, that also means if I have all kinds of material opulence, but I'm not Krishna conscious, I don't want it. Forget it. Hare Krishna. Forget it. Right? Jai Prabhupada. Something really interesting to meditate on is like when you hear all this and you're thinking, whoa, this is pretty like way up there stuff. It's actually not as up there as you think because the holy name is so powerful. If you chant and you don't make offenses to the holy name, you're going to feel like this more and more. You're going to be chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, just take me, whatever you want. I'll do anything, I just want to be your servant. That's what the holy name, that's the vibration of the holy name, what it invokes within our heart, doesn't it? That mood. But if you're chanting poorly, it doesn't invoke that mood. If you're chanting poorly, it only invokes the mood of just trying to chant to get my rounds done. And that's like the worst. Worst thing you could do is just be chanting in the mood of getting your rounds done because it's not invoking this mood of surrender, which if we chant without offense, it will invoke. And there's a lot of evidence in Prabhupada's teachings and elsewhere that says something that I think is really important for us, that the symptoms of Krishna consciousness, the detachment, the desire to surrender, and so forth, it manifests naturally in the heart of someone who takes the holy name properly. So if it's not manifesting to some degree, at least if it's not manifesting, at least the desire to achieve these positions, if that's not there, then one of the diagnoses is probably the correct diagnosis is namaparad. Because if you take the holy name properly, you can feel something like this. It's just natural. You look at a kirtan and everybody's Hare Krishna. I mean, it's like they're saying, Krishna, come and take me, like whatever you want. Worm in the house of a devotee, sign me up, I'll take it. Opulence like Brahma, I don't want it. That's what the holy name invokes within the heart. If you're not feeling that to some degree, there's probably some defect in your chanting. It's just you're not there, you're not paying attention to the holy name, you're not praying to it, you're not honoring it in some way as Krishna. Something is missing. Because if you do it properly, you will feel like this to some degree. And sometimes I joke, I'm serious, not just joking, but it's like, if this song scares you, you should probably stop chanting because chanting is going to make you feel like this. So if you read the song and go, ah, I don't want that. Well, hang your beads up, stop chanting, because if you or make sure you don't chant good. If this scares you, here's my advice to you: make sure you don't chant good rounds, because if you do, you're going to feel like this. Hare Krishna. Yeah, and you think I'm joking? A lot of devotees know if they chant good rounds, this is where it's taking them, and subconsciously they are not chanting good rounds. They're afraid to chant good rounds because they know I'm going to feel like this and I won't be able to handle it. Yeah, Hare Krishna. It's true, ladies and gentlemen. It's true. Why is my japa so bad? Maybe you're afraid the good japa would make you feel like Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And you'd be going up to deity saying, Krishna, you want to kill me today? It's all right by me. I don't want to live like that. That's too on the edge. I'm not going to chant, I'm going to make a few operads, make sure I make just enough operads that I won't feel like this. Think about it. I'm just throwing it out. You can agree, disagree. It's totally up to you to think about it. Vrindavan says, today I was in Sankirtan and there is no money that can pay that bliss, that connection with people. 108% agreed. Yeah. I always think, and I think it's such a beautiful thought that we should all have this. I always think, you hear about so many people who have so many things. They're beautiful, they have money, they have this and that, the rich and famous, they have their own private jets, their mansions everywhere on the planet. I always think they're no way near as happy as I am, and they never will be. And I've got, in my little bag here, I got more wealth than you got in your bank. Because you can't get what I can get from this with all your money. It can't buy money can't buy you love. How does that go? Can't buy you love, love. No, 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 no. Something like, yeah, money can't buy you love. Yeah. So it's really important for all of us to appreciate that. Of course, if you're not experiencing the nectar of Krishna consciousness, how would you appreciate it? You look at all these other people and go, oh, they're so happy. Look at me. I'm miserable. I got to chant my rounds. I don't even like it. I got to get up early in the morning. I'm a night person. They're happy. I'm not. If you ever think like a non-devotee's happy and you're not, you're like in serious trouble. You don't want to be there. You want to be the other. You want to be thinking, I'm so fortunate I have Krishna. I have the greatest wealth. I may have no money in my bank, but I'm richer than all of them because I have Krishna. And they cannot get the happiness I can get, no matter how much money they make, no matter how famous they become, and no matter how many girlfriends or boyfriends they have. Uh, when the Lord favors a devotee, he takes everything away, 1 month, 1 year at a time. Pain brings all the lessons. Happiness is an inside job, and the holy name does give us everything we need. Yeah. Um, and sometimes Krishna takes everything away, and sometimes he gives everything. Depends on the situation and the devotee. And sometimes he does both for the devotee, takes it away and then gives it because the devotee's like, okay, I have nothing, I'll serve you. You give me everything, I'll serve you. It's like, I'm yours. So Krishna says, yeah, that's good. You passed the test. Let me give you everything. And, a lot of times Krishna takes things away, but it's hard for Krishna because he wants to give you everything, but he takes things away if it's good for you. But he really wants to give it to you. So could you imagine? Just like you're a parent, and you want to give your kids something, but it'll make them so happy. But if you give it to them, it's just like they're going to be irresponsible. they'll never grow up strong and learn to be, learn to make a life for themselves because you spoiled them. And so when they finally, like make it and start their business or their profession and they're responsible, then you're like, here, I always wanted to give you this house I have on the beach. And now I can see you're responsible. Take it. So it was painful for me not to give it to you. And actually, I made your life difficult because I didn't give you so many things you wanted because I wanted you to become strong. So it's like that with Krishna. He wants to give you so much. What do you think? And so if you become pure devotee, you allow Krishna to do what he wants, to give you, take care of you, right? Because you are willing to do what he wants, and you're detached and strong enough that he says, okay, let me give you what I really want to give you, because I know now it's not going to be a problem for you. Whereas before it would have been. Hmm. Abhinav is asking why that fear is there, what to do to get above it, because I feel it. The only way to deal with fear is just walk into it. I can't think of a better way to deal with it. My experience is that fear is a story in our head. It's not, doesn't, what we're afraid of. I mean, if a tiger's running after you, that's a different thing. But so much of our fear is a story we made up in our head. It's not real. And so sometimes the only way you can work through the fear is just face it. Just go for it. Just do it. Just jump off the diving board into the water. Just do it. And it's a test of our faith in Krishna. And it's always nice to test our faith in Krishna, I think. So test your faith in Krishna and jump off the ceiling. See if he catches you. Not the ceiling, the roof. Abhinav, he will catch you, believe me. You just trust me, he'll catch you. Don't worry. I realized after you mentioned cause of unattentive chanting and I'm being okay with it, yeah. I've just been, I was telling the devotees today that I'm working on two projects. The last week, I just wrote 20 new affirmations and then wrote explanations of each affirmation, which I finished last night or sometime yesterday. And to write that, I had, do some research to back up what I'm saying with shlokas and shastric evidence. And I kept coming across these statements by Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and Srila Prabhupada about how bad inattention is. Inattention is the root cause of all the other offenses. And inattention is just like gross disrespect for Krishna. It's like ignoring Krishna when he comes. Have you ever been disrespected? How do you feel towards a person who disrespects you? So, they really emphasize it's really bad. Krishna is here. Like Prabhupada said, when you say Krishna, Krishna's dancing on your tongue, and he's there, and you're going to disrespect him by not being attentive. This is really, really offensive. So, just to scare you a little more, that the acharyas, the shastras say that, like, compared to offense, sin is nothing. Offenses, like offending the holy name is a direct offense to Krishna. Eating a hamburger is not a direct offense in the same way. And if you eat a hamburger and you say Hare Krishna, the reaction of that sin is now absolved. But if you offend the holy name, you have to chant, 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 day after day after day, hour after hour. Try to overcome that offense. One of the mantras, one of the things we did in the level 3 japa course was chant asking Krishna to forgive us for the offenses we make. So if you can imbibe how serious an offense inattention is and really like imbibe it deeply. Like, this is really bad. This is really offensive to Krishna. I can't chant. I can't be spaced out and elsewhere when I chant. I have to be, Krishna's there. I have to be attentive to him. Just like I have to be, I have to be attentive to my attentive to my deity when I'm dressing them. I can't be inattentive to my deity when I dress them. Can't be inattentive to the holy name when I'm addressing it. So it was like I was just reading so much about that. It was like, oh, they're really heavy about this, heavier than I realized actually about being inattentive. Because it's really it's neglect. It's neglect. It's like, you can't neglect if you have a deity and you don't worship it according to the standard, you're neglecting the deity. That's pretty bad, don't you think? So you're calling the holy name and then you're neglecting him. You're calling Hare Krishna, and then you're off somewhere else in your head. Not good. So in London, we did a little exercise in the Japa level 3. I don't think we did this in the Japa level 3 online, but I'll give you the exercise because it's so powerful. Just imagine if you chanted better rounds, how your life would be different, how it would be better. It's scary in a good way to think like that. How would your life be better if you chanted better rounds? And you start to realize it would be better in many ways, which means, okay, that must mean I'm not chanting such good rounds, if that's true. A lot of problems I have, maybe I wouldn't have them if I chanted better rounds. It's a beautiful thought, don't you think? Yeah. So it's nice to think. It becomes a real impetus because I'm stuck with this problem. Like, why do I have this? Well, I'm just my nature. I'm attached. Just like, whatever. Okay, that's all right. But is this attachment like now harming you? Would it, would the influence of that attachment be lessened if you chanted better? Yeah, it would. Would you struggle with it less? Yeah, you would. So, that's a real impetus when you're chanting japa to realize if I can chant well, a lot of these problems that I struggle with will not be problems. Or if they remain, they won't remain big problems because the holy name will purify me. Okay. Um, yeah. Okay. So we have 2 minutes. I'm sure if you had a question, you would have posted it, so I don't have to ask, right? You're going to love the new affirmations book. I think it's even better than the first. I don't know. I'm going to send it to John Mustme, see what he thinks. I think it's better. It just takes it. We're doing a new affirmation book, everyone. Japa Affirmations 2.0, taking your japa to the next level. It's going to be, I think, one of the things that is really helping me focus more is dressing the deities. I never felt attracted to this service, but Krishna gave me the chance to do it for 2 hours and 30 minutes. I am entirely focused. And it's amazing. My japa is improving tool too. So what I suggest to everyone is when you chant japa, just think it's just like deity worship. That Krishna is appearing in the form of sound. He appears on the altar in a grosser form of matter. He's appearing in the holy name in the form of sound. And I'm worshiping the deity of sound, so I can't neglect him. And I'm decorating him with my love in my tears and the lamplight of my love. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So I'm going to disappear because I don't know what time it is for me, but I'm really hungry. And I promised, yeah, I must be hungry because my last meal was 5 hours ago. That's why I'm hungry. Yeah. And my wife's waiting for me. And today in America is Labor Day, so we don't have to work, which means I have more time to work. Hare Krishna. Yes, that's what Labor Day means for me. More time to work. It's nice to see you all. We'll see you on Wednesday. And then Friday, I leave for Mexico. So I think Friday, I think I'm probably, I don't know what time I'm leaving, but probably I won't have class. But once we go to Mexico, I think the last time we were in Mexico, we had class every morning. So we'll keep you posted. So we might have class every morning, at least on the weekdays. Hare Krishna. To all of you. Jai Ho. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaurmani ki jai. I'm disappearing, Gaurmani. I'm moving up and onward.